We've had several speakers at our conferences over the year, and Rich Campe was a great speaker. He gave a lot of value. It was very compelling and interesting information, and we would love to have him back again.
I thought ProAdvisor and Rich Campe did an excellent job. I think that doing something and having a specific strategic plan during the off season is great. I thought he had a lot of practical examples I'll be able to use in my business, and I think it'll be helpful.
Enjoyed the breakdown of steps, because any task that's worthwhile, you've got to break it down into steps, and so that was very, very helpful. Enjoyed the presentation.
Very practical, good job, right on target, everything. So I enjoyed it a lot.
I too found it to be extremely informative today, and really a good time that caused me to reflect on my own business practice and my own action steps.
So I'm going to start with sharing a story. On December 1st of 2008, at about 9:57 a.m., I was driving to the office. I was living in North Carolina, Charlotte, and my office is about 15 minutes from the house there. So I'm driving to the office, and I received a call from my dad. It was a rainy day, it was a little bit cold outside, and I'm driving up there and pick up the phone, hey Dad, what's up? And he goes, hey, I got some bad news. And I said, oh, what's going on? He said, well, I just got diagnosed with cancer. And that phone call changed my life. Everything seemed to shrink in and get tight and tunnel vision at that particular moment in time. And by that afternoon, I had flown into Chicago. I lived in North Carolina, so I flew to Chicago, arrived about 5:37 in the afternoon later that evening. And we had a great time that night. We talked about, past times and where we were. We weren't sure what was going to happen. We didn't know if it was terminal. We didn't know if it would be something that would go away. We weren't sure, right? So my sister was there, and my stepmom and my stepbrother, and we just it was just this moment in time that just froze. And I'm sure some of you have been there dealing with cancer in your family and people that you know as people start to get a little bit older, and you deal with that with clients a lot too, I'm sure. So that night happened, and we planned the next day, and we said, okay, what are the next steps? Where do we need to go from here? And over the next 7 months, I traveled back and forth from North Carolina to Chicago, about, I think I had 5 flights total. And on June 29th at 9:34 a.m., my father passed away. I was holding his hands, closed his eyes, we said a prayer for him. And when I look back at that time, 2 things come to mind for me. One, how important it is what you guys do. I mean, it is absolutely amazing, because had we had to deal with his estate, his will, his assets under management, the business that he had to buy, sell with, his life insurance, had we had to deal with that stuff on top of everything else that was going on, it would have been a disaster. It would have been so much pressure, it would have been unbearable. So I want to start by thanking all of you for what you do, because it made a huge difference, and I witnessed it firsthand with going through that with my father. And after he passed away, because the finances were in order, because the wills were in order, because his buy-sell was in order, because his estate was in order, because he had spent the time with his advisor to do the right things, it made a huge difference. A huge difference. So you owe it to yourself to really recognize and really get centered with how much of an impact you have on people's lives. Absolutely amazing. The second thing I realized is during that 7-month period of time, I took off almost 3 full months of work. I mean, we had a full game plan around what we were going to do. We saw the best doctors. We had doctors flown in. We flew the doctors. We drove the doctors. We were dealing with DePaul and Loyola and the top universities. And we wanted the best care, everything we could possibly do. We learned really early on that it was terminal cancer. It was small cell cancer. And so, we knew it was an aggressive cancer that grew really fast, and we had to get really involved. They said he maybe had 60 days, and he ended up staying with us for 7 months. But during that time, I really understood the importance of time. And I started thinking about this idea of the off season. Taking the time off to work on our business versus in our business. Taking the time to work on our business versus in our business. See, what happens in life is we get so busy in our own businesses that we don't stop to really plan our businesses. What do we do for our clients? right? We stop, we interview them, we ask them questions, we create some awareness with them about what's happening. And then we typically develop some type of plan. And then we help them to execute that plan. So we're really helping them to stop their life, if we can get them to stop, right? Because a lot of times they're running so fast. If we can get them to stop long enough to spend time with us, the advisors, to take that time off and spend time with us and look at what's going on and come up with some ideas and help them to execute a plan, makes a huge difference. So this off-season concept kept running through my mind because I thought, what if I didn't have the time? What if I was in a place where I could not fly back and forth from Charlotte to Chicago? If I didn't have the time, if my business was totally dependent on me. And I went back to a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Kiyosaki. And he talks about 4 wealth quadrants. The first one being the employee, the W-2 income, earning money from working for somebody else. The second wealth quadrant, called the S quadrant, the self-employed slave model. Okay? Meaning that the business is totally dependent on us. If we leave, revenue stops. The business shrinks. The third wealth quadrant, called the passive income, the P quadrant, passive income. Earning income with or without you. That was my Verizon stores, my real estate, our business as a whole. We have a coaching team, 47 coaches around the country that continue to coach. While I'm here, there's coaching happening. There's sales happening. There's opportunities happening. My real estate company. There's revenue being produced consistently. Okay, so the passive income model. For you, maybe the assets under management, the fee base. All right? And then the fourth piece of it is the big business, the business model. Is your business duplicatable? Is it sellable? Is it duplicatable and runs with or without you? So I started thinking about these pieces, and I started thinking about this off season. And then I connected with a friend of mine who played for the NBA by the name of Walter Bond. And we were brainstorming on this off season, and he said, you know what? The off-season is the most important time of any professional athlete's period while they're playing. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, I always look forward to my off-season. In fact, I knew in my off-season that was the time to practice my free throws, time to practice my dribbles, time to practice blocking, time to practice the outside shots. That was my time. In my off-season, that's what made my in-season. But a lot of times in business or in life, we get so caught up in the business that we just keep taking air in, and we never get to breathe out. We never stop to plan our business, to look at the off-season and what that's all about. So this off-season keeps going through my mind, and I keep thinking about it more and more. And as of recently, we just finished writing a book called The Off-Season for Financial Advisors, of how do you take that time out to plan your business, and what does that actually look like? So there's really 3 parts to an off-season. There's 3 parts to a successful off-season. In fact, how many of you played sports growing up? Quite a few of you. How many of you had an off-season in sports? A lot of you, right? You had time you played. Now, the athletes, the kids, I have 2 kids, 13 and 11, and they seem to play all year round, which I don't know that that's so good, because they're going from, you know, the training camps, and they're going to the travel camps, and they're going to all the different camps. So I think it's important to take that time off to really practice the game, right, before you're in the game. But I think that with time moving so fast, Peter Drucker, many of you have heard of Peter Drucker, before he passed away, he had an article in the Harvard Business Review, top 10 article from the last century out of Harvard. And he said, in the knowledge-based economy, if we don't understand ourselves and home in and focus on where we are, we'll get gobbled up by what's happening. Because things are moving so fast right now with technology and systems and processes and people and television. Everything's moving so fast, we have to carve out our space. That's that off-season time. Where are we really good? Where do we spend the time? So that first piece is the awareness. Like this overall process we call the AAA approach. Number 1, you have to have the awareness. Number 2, you have to have an action plan. And number 3, you have to have the achievement stage. So think about this from your client perspective. Awareness. First you get with them and you start to understand, what are some of the gaps? What's happening with their life insurance? What's happening with their assets? Do they have something in place for the kids to go to college, you know? How are they protected? Do they have the buy-sell agreement? What's the awareness around this client? What are they dealing with overall, that relationship part of what's there? And then you go back and you build some type of plan typically for them to say, here's what we recommend based on what we learned from you, right? And then you have the achievement stage of you execute it and you actually follow through with what that plan is. So the 3 parts of an off-season: awareness, action plan, and achievement. So I go back to this off-season and think about animals, right? What do birds do in the winter? What do birds do? They migrate, right? What do bears do in the winter? Hibernate. What are we supposed to do at least one? Hibernate. What are we supposed to do at least one day a week? Rest. Take a break, right? But what ends up happening is we're running all week long. Go, 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 go. We get to the weekend and we're like, oh, okay, take a break. Oh no, I gotta get the kids here. I gotta go to the grandkids thing here. I gotta do this. I gotta do that. And Sunday comes along. We're supposed to take a day of rest, but we're just trying to catch up from the week before. So we're going, go, 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 go. So we tend to be in this cycle that's just go, go, go all the time, never stopping, even though it's so clear that we should take off season. Take the time, stop, to rest, to plan, to look at how we want to design where we're going and what that looks like. So again, 3 parts: awareness, action plan, and achievement. So these 3 pieces, and I have some illustrations in this first stage, which we call the awareness. What we've learned is we have 3 types of advisors. The first advisor has a big heart. We call him the relator. Okay? He loves and she loves on people. Oh, love people, love people, love people. Okay, all day long it's about the people. People, 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 people. Oh, how was your weekend? You know, Ron, how are you? How was your weekend? Good, good. And then he just keeps going all day. I take this phone call, I take that. Now this person that loves on people, cares about people like crazy, do they segregate their base very well? Do you think they look at their whole base of clients and look at who the ones are that they want to serve, who their ideal clients are? No, not in a lot of cases they don't, because they want to help everyone. In fact, we just started working with a client about 6 months ago, Carolyn, out of North Carolina, and she was having this dilemma. She said, I'm working 76 to 80 hours a week, and I have about 420 households, and I just can't stop. I said, why? She goes, because I can't let my clients down. I just cannot let them down. I said, what do you mean? He goes, I mean, I just care about them all so much. I can't let them down. I have to be there for them, every single one of them. I said, oh, wow, okay. So we have a big heart, a relator advisor. She just cares about her clients so much, which is great. And I said to Carolyn, I said, so I'm curious, if we don't segregate your base, if we don't look at your most ideal clients, what happens as you continue to grow your business? What happens there? She goes, well, then I can't serve the other clients because I'm getting so big, I don't have the time. I said, okay. And what happens to your health if you keep working at these hours? She goes, well, that's not good. I said, how does that impact your family? She goes, well, that's not good either. I said, so this big heart, I want you to look at the other way. If you keep doing what you're doing, how is that going to impact your big heart and your relating and how much you do with people? Okay? So start to look at the other side of it, because relators tend to just have amazing conversations all day long with all types of clients. They care so much, but they're enabling people. It's kind of like the cocoon, right? If we're walking past this cocoon, the relator advisor sees this cocoon, butterflies trying to press out of the outside of that cocoon, push those wings to the outside, right? Trying to get out. That relator feels so bad for that butterfly. Oh, that little butterfly is trying to get out of there. I don't want to see that butterfly go through any pain. So the relator advisor cuts that cocoon open and lets that butterfly come out, because that butterfly is struggling. Right? What happens to the butterfly if we let it out early? It dies. Why? Because we enabled that butterfly in that moment. It didn't have the opportunity to press against the outside of the cocoon in order to build its muscles and its wings to get strong enough to grow. But a lot of you relator advisors, right? You're doing it with your clients, you're doing it with your staff, you're probably doing it with your family. Just got on the phone call with another advisor last week. $1.2 million in revenue. Said, what's going on? He goes, I want to grow my business. That's what all advisors say when we start talking. I want to grow my business. I want to grow my business. And I'm always looking at 2 things. Above the waterline, below the waterline. Right? What sank the Titanic? What we could see above the waterline or below the waterline? What sank the Titanic? Below or above? Below. It's what we could not see that sank the Titanic. Not what we could see. So on the surface, it appears to be, let's all grow our business. Because we know what all advisors want is 3 things. Time, money, and fun. It's pretty basic. You all want more time, money, and fun, right? But we tend to look above the waterline and say, okay, I want to grow my business. I want to take it to the next level, which is okay, because that can give us more time, money, and fun. But looking under the waterline. So we go back to this advisor, and I said, so tell me, he goes, oh, I want to grow my business. I said, well, what's going on? He goes, well, I work with my brother. I said, so what do you have assets under management? He said, we got about $560 million in assets under management. I said, how much of that business did you bring in, and how much did your brother bring in? He goes, well, I brought in all the cases, and he brought in 2. I said, wow. I said, okay, well, that's a good start, so let's look at that. So we profile him, we start to see that it's a lot of enabling going on, not just with his brother, with his clients, it's going on with his staff, tons of enabling. And that creates a lot of pressure for the relator because he cannot or she cannot break out of what we call a circle of complexity. Because they're so caught up in that space of wanting to make everybody happy all the time that it creates that circle of complexity we can't break through. So we have to look at what's happening under the waterline, creating that awareness. All right? So that's the first one, is the relator. Let's look at the second type of advisor here. The second one we call the doer. And this doer is taking action all day long. Let's go! Action, 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 action. Now the doer never stops because it's kind of like a machine gun. All day long. As many things I get. Okay, I got a phone call happening in 3 minutes. I've got 3 minutes. I got time to do 2, 3, 4, 5 more things before that call starts. Let's go. Boom, boom, boom. All day long. This is the advisor that wakes up in the middle of the night with all these ideas racing through their head, okay? Because there's all these ideas going on of what to do next. Where do I go here? How do I do this, right? They wake up with all these ideas. Massive action, okay? Let's look at, for example, an advisor we had out of Dallas. His name's Michael. And Michael was a doer, and he's one of the most successful advisors in the country. He's ranked in the top 3. He's close to $6 million in revenue. So Michael has this client out of Austin. He's in Dallas, he's got a client out of Austin. And I start asking him about his business, he starts telling me, and he is massive action. I mean, he is results, results, results all the time. So I ask him about clients, and he's telling about this client that's in Austin. He says, you know, I have this client in Austin. Here's an example of what happened. The client has a heart attack. Tells his wife, call my advisor, call our advisor, Michael, immediately, because I don't know if this is the end. So the 911 call, next call after 911 is the advisor out in Dallas. So the wife gets on the call, talking to Michael, say, I don't know what's going to happen. We're on our way. The ambulance is here. You know, we don't know where this is going to go. So the advisor says in his mind, because he's all about action, is I have to be the very first person at that hospital bed in the morning before anybody else gets there, because God forbid if something did happen, right, there's a huge life policy here, and that's going to lead to some other things. That's what he's thinking in his mind, okay? And I want to make sure that I'm there to take care of whatever's going to happen with that money. But I need to be there first, because, boy, that's going to really mean a lot. So while the wife is on the phone with our advisor, she says, and by the way, our daughter is going to school in Arizona, and she's going to be flying in. She gets at 10 in the morning at 10:30 a.m. And so our advisor says, I got to be there before her, because if I get there first, that'll even drive more opportunity, more action. It's just action, action, action. Thinking about the results, not thinking about the relator part of it. Okay? So he gets there in the morning, and I had the opportunity to meet the client. And I said, so tell me about Michael. He goes, the guy's unbelievable. He was the very first person at my hospital bed when everything happened. Thank God it wasn't that bad. They did some surgery. I'm okay now. But he was the very first person there before anybody else. I said, wow. I said, I'm just curious, Mr. Client. Did you know that he knew that your daughter was coming in at 10:30 in the morning? No, I didn't know that. I said, if he would have waited at the airport for your daughter and brought her to the hospital bed that morning, what would that have been like? And the client had a little tear coming down his eye, and he said, Michael, you'd done that. That had been a huge difference. So because our advisor was all about action and not stopping to think about the people, the relating part of what's happening, right? He missed a huge picture of what was there. So these doers are going so fast, massive action all day long, that they're not stopping to look at what's really going on, taking the off-season time to see what's there. In 1991, when I came back from working with Tony Robbins, I certified with him. Pretty amazing trip. We were in Hawaii. Seems pretty easy, right? In Hawaii, I was there for 2 weeks getting certified after about 1.5 years of pre-course work, and then getting my final certification in Hawaii. I'm out there, and I come back, and I thought, I got this all figured out. And I didn't know what I didn't know because I didn't have the awareness. I was massive action. So I raised $35,000 from friends and family and said, I'm going to start this company, right? A coaching, a speaking, training company. So I started up this company in 1991, and I was doing these barefoot firewalks all over Chicagoland area. I rented this big resort, and we were doing these barefoot firewalks as a metaphor of what we could do, what we're capable of. And I said I would need to sell 150 tickets within 60 days at $499 a piece to break even. I said, how hard can that be? Action, action, action. So I start going, I start running, and my business partner, who was the finance guy, he said, about a week before we were supposed to have the event, he said, Rich, if you ever want to go parachuting? I said, yeah, let's go. He goes, whoa, whoa, hold on. He goes, I just want you to visualize this for a second. Let's imagine we're parachuting, we're falling, and I say, pull the chute, pull the chute, pull the chute. You say, no, no, this is great, this is great. He keeps saying, pull the chute. And then he slaps his hands together and goes, if we don't pull the chute now and close this thing down and lose all our deposits, we're going to owe like $100,000 because we've only sold 2 tickets and we only have 1 week, 2 weeks left. I said, oh, wow, Tim, are you serious? He goes, yeah, we got to pull the chute right now, lose the deposits, pay everyone back, and we're out of here. So I didn't know at the time what I didn't know. I was just massive action. Go, 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 go. Because I didn't have that awareness, because I didn't understand, it cost me $35,000 at that time. Okay? So the awareness is that first piece. So number 1, we have the relator. Number 2, we have the doer. Let's look at our third one here. Our third one is what we call the thinker. The thinker likes everything to be just right. We start on time. We end on time. The process, the systems, the rules. Now, the good thing about the thinker is it's very duplicatable. They can duplicate things over and over and over again, systems, processes. The danger with the thinker is they want everything to be perfect. These are the advisors that are tough for us to deal with in many cases because it always has to be perfect. It has to be just right. Right? And no one's perfect, but these thinkers, they like it to be just a certain way. What are the big banks doing right now? A lot of these big banks, a lot of these corporations, in order to scale, in order to grow, what do they typically do? Put process, systems, structure, phone systems in place that automate things. One thing I like about SSN when I was talking to some of you last night, I said, what do you like most about SSN? You know what? They pick up the phone when we call. Well, a lot of these other organizations that have grown because of the thinker, the process systems of duplication, they put phone systems in place. Compliance, it's unheard of to get advertising approved in 24 hours. That's unheard of. The broker-dealers we deal with, I mean, it's typically months and months. Weeks, if you're lucky, 3 weeks. Months, typically. Some never get approved. They just go to the bottom of the list. They never even make it to the list, right, at the top of the list. So when the organization grows, the danger is the thinker, the process systems they take over the relating part of what's there. Right? They take over the people part. So that's what we have to be conscious of. As we grow, we don't want to lose that relator portion of what's there. All right? So we have 3 of them. The relator, the doer, and the thinker. In this awareness phase, there's 14 core disciplines that we like to look at. In addition to relator, doer, thinker, there's 14 core disciplines that we found with top advisors. The first one is looking at your ideal clients. Who are your ideal clients? When I was with Tony Robbins in '91 and we were out in Hawaii, one of the things he did it was about the 11th day, I guess, he said, here's what we're going to do, Rich. And he told the rest of us this. I was actually on a team with Martin Sheen getting certified as a coach. He said, here's what we're going to do. I've got planes and helicopters waiting for you outside this room similar to this. And I want you to give me your wallets, your money, your credit cards, all the stuff. I'm going to put them in a safe box for you. And I'm going to give you an apple, a quarter, and a map. And you can keep your driver's license or your passport. But I'm going to give you an apple, a quarter, and a map. And I want you to go out. I'm going to drop you off on one of the islands. I was dropped off on Maui. And I want you to add twice the value from everyone that you meet. Add twice the value. I thought, well, how hard can that be? Because he was testing us to see, could we add value to people without it not being about the money? Because that's such an easy transaction, trade money for services. But could you add value to people without trading money? Right? I thought, wow, okay, this will be interesting. Now, even after I'd gone through this training over a year and a half or so, and I'm at the final course work that we're going through, I still wanted to take the easy way out. I thought, I'm going to go sleep on the beach in Maui for 24 hours. Okay, I can do that. I don't need to eat. I can fast for 24 hours. So they drop me off, and I get there, and I get to the beach, and the sun's just going down, and those of you who have been to Hawaii before, the sand fleas at night, especially when the sun's going down, are brutal. Okay? I mean, absolutely brutal. The homeless people have these golf ball-sized welts on their body because they're so intense. So I find myself, you know, at the time I was living in Chicago, I paid a lot of money to go to the certification, $18,000 just to attend the certification, this final coursework. And I'm there, and I'm huddled around garbage cans with the fire coming out of it with homeless people, trying to stay warm and trying to keep the sand fleas off of me. And I'm thinking, I paid $18,000 to do this. Okay? I'm tripping out. In my head, I'm going, what? Am I crazy? Right? So this is happening, and I thought to myself, okay, wait a minute. I have to add twice the value. I have to add twice the value. Now I'm getting hungry. Okay? What I thought was going to be easy, my doer attitude of anything's possible, right, at the moment, was not so easy. Because it's only 7 hours into it, and I think I'm going to die of starvation. Okay? So I went over this Taco Bell, which is across from the beach there. I said, hey, how are you? What was your name? Hey, Melanie, how are you? Nice to meet you. And Melanie's behind the counter there, and she's working there. I said, Melanie, that smile? Yeah, that one right there? A little bit bigger? Yeah, that one, good. And as Melanie's smiling just like she is now, who's behind the counter, I said, Melanie, that smile, go back to the one you just had. Yeah, that one, good, thank you. Good. And in fact, can you stand up, Melanie? Would you mind helping me out? Good, excellent. So just like this, we're behind the counter, and Melanie's there, and I said, Melanie, nice to meet you, and that smile, good, thank you for the smile. And Melanie's smiling just like that, and I thought, Melanie, that smile is amazing. And as you smiled to all those people out there, smile, big smiles, good, smiling back, good. And I said, Melanie, that smile will probably impact people in amazing ways over the next hour or two as you keep smiling, smile again, good, excellent. And that smile is so contagious. I mean, how can we not help but smile back, right? I said, all I need in exchange for that amazing smile that's going to impact your life and many others is one soft chicken taco. And she said, oh, no problem. Thanks, Melanie. Give it up for Melanie. Good. And I thought in that moment, I was like, wow, I mean, this is pretty powerful. What are people really after? It's a state change. Trust me, you think you're selling products? You're not selling product. You're selling something much bigger than that. When my dad passed away, it wasn't about the products he had and all this stuff that had been done. It was so much bigger than that for me. It was so much deeper. Okay? It's not about the product. You're selling hopes. You're selling dreams. Okay? It's not about the tangible. It's so much bigger than that. SSN is so much bigger about that. Right? It is. So think about it. We profile now in the ideal client area, we profiled thousands of your clients. Thousands of them. They have never one time said they have the best products on the market. Not one time. What do they say? What do you think your clients say? When we ask them, what do you like so much about Marianne or Melanie? About Melanie or about Joe or about Carrie or about Steve? What do your clients say when we ask them, why do you do business with them? Why do you do business with this advisor? What do you think they say? Trust is a huge one. Comes up over and over and over again. Right? They know what they're doing. They have integrity, like we learned last night. Integrity and independence. They give me independence. They give me freedom. It's never about the product.